Alrighty, so we are kicking off release 2 of UAT. We are going to be running this release for several weeks in a row. I'm going to be going over the customer and application updates and the updated deduplicate customer search that we hit before we add a customer. And then I'm also going to be going over MSGs. So we just talked, we don't have a lot of folks in attendance on this webinar. So instead of just going over MSG, or the deduplicate customer search, I'm going to be doing both of them this week on March 12th, and then again next week on, what would that be, March 19th. So folks who are able to attend can really get some good information on this and have the ability to ask questions. We're also recording this so we can send this out to folks to get started on this if they are not able to attend today. So as a reminder, for UAT, UAT is we're going to have a couple of resources for you guys to use. So we have our guides. So this one is for UAT release 2 cycle 1. Let me open up the cycle 2 one. We're kind of flip-flopping because of attendance. We're going to start with cycle 2. It highlights for you the overview of UAT, and what our homework areas are. So it lists here what we are wanting you to look at. And then the due dates, they're going to be a little wonky. They're both going to be March 27th since we're coming at these at the same time. I'm going to keep the dates as they are though, because the locals are using these, and the locals are scheduled to start MSGs tomorrow, and then the following week they're doing the customer and application listing and deduplicate customer search. So I want to make sure to maintain those due dates because they're only going to do one at a time. And then with this, we have the link to the UAT environment. So this is where you're going to go to actually do the testing and interact with the tools that we have laid out for you. As a reminder, you really only want to be focusing on what we have laid out for you because other stuff is still in development. And although it's great if you want to look at it, if you provide feedback, it could be something we're already working on or still in discussion on, and we don't want to waste your guys' time on looking at things that aren't fully built. And then reporting issues. So as you're in the site looking at the stuff, we also have the UAT notebook set up where you can log any issues you find, any bugs or enhancements you would like to see. When you're logging these, you should ensure you're going through and providing this kind of information. I won't read all of this to you, but you guys have this here to know when you're logging issues. We need to make sure it's clear, and you're including screenshots if applicable, and we can easily follow what you're talking about. While we're on the subject of notebooks. So the notebook, we have our different release 2 sections. So we're going to be doing cycle 1 and cycle 2. So we have the MSG for cycle 1, and we have the customer and application listing and deduplicate customer search for cycle 2. So as you're providing feedback, make sure you're coming into the right section and adding your information to the correct page, whether it's regarding the customer and application listing or the deduplicate customer search. Same for MSG. It's whether you're adding the MSG or you're looking at the MSG display table. If you have issues, you can connect to one of the BAs for assistance. Lays out your expectations of UAT. This is your chance to thoroughly test anything and provide any feedback before we mark this off as good. For some of these, like the MSG, you're really just looking at the UI. We know once we have application services and exit information, we're going to have another layer of business logic that'll go over the top of this. But we don't want to hold up all the MSG stuff until the very end. So right now we're going over the UI. No, we were going to be layering more business logic over the top of it. For like our customer and application listing and deduplicate customer search, that's pretty fully hooked up other than a couple of filters that we'll need to pull in regarding like application statuses and stuff that we will get once we're a little further along with applications. There are 3 different areas where you might be listing something, either a bug, something doesn't work as expected. It's an issue. This would be like the system is performing as required, but it doesn't feel like it's getting what's expected as an outcome. So this is typically if the requirements weren't fully understood and it's not doing something that we need it to do in order to be compliant. And then enhancements, it's working, it's compliant, but we think it could be more user-friendly or, work a different way. So these are the kinds of things you will log in the notebook. And then just best practices for effective user acceptance testing we have listed here. After that, this section is at the top of all of our UAT guides as a reminder. Then we get into the actual areas that we're testing. You have an overview of what you're looking at. And then we get into the customer listing and the sections you're going to be looking at. So we're going to be looking at some updates we made to the name search. We have enhanced this based on our previous UAT session to include a quick search and a full search. So you can toggle between the two. You have two different ways to search a customer name. This is similar to what we have seen in Career Connect. They had a couple different ways to do this. It didn't quite visually look like this, but they had the different searches in different areas of the system. And based on the feedback we got during UAT, we had a pretty big split on how people wanted to search. So we broke this out so folks could do it however is best for them. And this is on our customer and application listing. So this here is essentially going through and explaining how these work for the customer tab and the application tab and giving you some visuals of what you're looking at here. You pick your search, you enter data, you do your search. You can see the results on the customer and application tab, and here are the results across the tabs you're on. And then we go into the same with the full name search. So how it is intended to work and how you can engage with it on the customer and application tab. And the results that you get. Then again, it's very similar for our application listing. As we're looking up here, you have a customer listing and an application listing. So it repeats if you're doing the same kind of search, but you're looking at applications instead of customers, you're getting similar information here. Again, spelling out how these work for the application listing. This next section goes into the create customer record, the duplicate customer search. So this was pretty extensively enhanced. So it used to be a modal. It now is going to direct you to its own page where you complete the same kind of duplicate check. We also have layered in a nickname database that wasn't there before. So it's hitting nicknames as well as the names you type in to find applicable records to pull back. When you do that, it then will pull you back a table of the results you found, which seems very similar to what we had saw before, except now we have a preview icon. So instead of being in a modal, we're on a full page doing this. And then when you click the preview icon, it's a very similar to like a shopping cart kind of thing. You want to preview some information, it pops it up over here. And you can either like go to the record, yes, this is the customer, or review that information. No, this isn't my customer, and tweak your search or just goes directly into adding a new customer, whatever the scenario would require. So this actually can go because we're doing that as part of this one. All right. So with that, I want to actually like show you guys a little bit of this. Do you have any questions though before I jump in and kind of show you this stuff with the tool?
So I know something came up recently about adding in preferred name. Has that been considered in any of this development?
So we do have preferred name. I need to connect with Taylor on that. We have preferred name in the record. What I think we need to do is like preferred name Bob.
Yeah. Okay.
What we need to do is have that expand this search
Mhm.
to come to search first name or preferred name
Right. Yeah.
to capture
Okay.
that. So I have that flagged. I need to talk to Taylor though, because it's connected to her profile stuff and see if we can get that expanded to do so.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Any other questions before I jump into it? All right. So this still works exactly like it did when we looked at it last time. We just updated this. So You can do your quick search. Bob, got Bob right here. And then you can also do your full search for folks. Let me reset that. Where you can put in your first name, middle name, or last name. You don't have to put all of them in. You can, just put in first name. And then if you want to put in last name, you can, or middle initial. That's there as well. We didn't have a middle initial originally, but we know that is a data field, so we added it to make it easier to try to narrow down lists of customers. The same thing works on the applications. We're just searching customers by application records instead of by just customer records. This is a similar feature to IWDS that folks didn't want to see go away. They wanted the ability to have both. So we have them here. When we're applying these searches, they are hitting both. So I don't have to redo my search. I can just click tabs. I can see this Joe has one application. This Joe has no applications. So when I look at the application tab, I'm seeing the record for the one that does have an application. Once the other Joe gets an application, I know they look the same because they have the same name and the same date of birth, but they're two separate records. Um, he would then show on the applications section as well. Our nickname database, there's not like a great way to um, show that on the front end, but essentially we have a database on the back end that is saying like if Aaron, these are possible nicknames. So if I search on this, it'd bring me back any of these people. If I search on this, it would bring me back Aaron. And applicable, like these applicable nicknames as well. So it's a pretty extensive database, lots of records, and it was built so that we can expand it. So as things come up that we need to be aware of or nicknames that are commonly in use that our database misses, we can add those and continue to build upon it as needed. But it's pretty extensive and was built with a best practice like nickname database that was available.
Will it pull up any former changes in name? So, such as maiden name?
So that still works the same when I'm doing a full search or a quick search. If I have like Olivia in and a different, it still is pulling up these Olivias, even though so maiden name may have changed. And then we're seeing that a lot more too. We've built the duplicate customer search. So if my first name and date of birth match, then I'm still getting back records that might have been my maiden name. So that was the logic we had in place during our first UAT round, and we did not have any issues or feedback on this not being expansive enough to capture maiden name.
Okay.
So since I'm in the duplicate customer search, I'm going to kind of keep showing unless you guys want to go back and look at the other one. But here I could be like, maybe it didn't bring back Olivia Test. I got married and I haven't been in since I was Olivia Gersheim. And I'm like, well, surely they could ask them what their maiden name was or whatever, but maybe they're both Olivia Miller would probably be more likely. They can preview and see some additional information like email address, or any other applications that they've had. And phone number if we had any of that to try to identify which of these Olivias is correct. So email address is one we have for almost everybody. So we can verify like, have you ever had this email address or the zip code? Some of these we might not have any information on if they never did an application or had any additional information to give us. Once they have started an application, we're going to start getting more information on them. And then if this is them and I'm like, oh, I don't need to add you, you're already in the system, you can just go straight to the customer's record and add the application or add the cell for information, whatever you need to do.
Now, is there a way to merge them?
There will be, but that's not something we have
Okay.
gotten into yet.
I know that
We
they've
know we
had
need to.
requests that they've found duplicates and they've asked that that they never got caught. And then they asked that they can merge those files together. So I just wondered if that was an option.
Yeah, we want to do that in
Mhm.
addition to like a running check. So as we get SSNs, as they move further in the process, we can try to capture those as well.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Do they archive, like, will we archive things after a certain period of time?
I don't know the answer to that. I know Al has been looking at that,
Yeah, I
but I'm
can.
not sure.
Corey, had to drop off for another meeting, but Corey said it has to follow the agency's requirements. Well, the DCEO OET records retention hasn't been updated since 1985.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it doesn't. It still references JTPA. And so it talks about paper files, but of course, at that point in time, it doesn't speak to any type of electronic retention.
Mm-hmm.
So what we had been doing, especially for the locals, is say, okay, well, if fiscal requires you to keep documents for 3 years after the end of the grant, unless there's potential litigation. So we told the field it's the same for customers for hard copy files. Now for electronic files, we have really no guidance. And so right now, our current IWDS keeps everybody in there.
Right.
So I think the thought process is they're going to pull everybody in, archive everybody pre-WIOA. So everybody pre-2014 will be quote unquote archived in cold storage. And then everybody from 2014 on will be displayed in the system. Now, if we need to go back and say, okay, we need to look at this DCEO record retention, and we have to update it to include electronic files or what have you, then
I I would highly recommend you guys do that because server times, processing times, costs
Mhm.
to store this are all going to be
Mhm.
impacted by just holding everything for what, since 2014, 11 years, and we start building onto it. So it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And when I have to like search
Right.
customers or try to like rank things or do things, I'm ranking things
Mhm.
for thousands and thousands and thousands of customers, slowing the system down. So if somebody was added as a customer record 14 years ago and nothing ever happened, they're still taking space, taking load time, taking a lot of electronic resources
Mhm.
um, that I don't think we need to be given because it was created 14 years ago.
Exactly.
So there could be different things we put in place, like, based on applications and stuff. If application, maybe we hold longer, but if simply a record, um, we look at getting rid of after a couple of years. But I would recommend that that be something you guys definitely consider doing.
Now for like our data sharing agreements, it's 5 years, like Swiss and all that. It's you can retain it for 5 years and then you have to destroy it. Um, so maybe we adopt that 5 year time frame but we need to make that you're saying we need to make sure that we get that into our some type of record retention policy.
Yeah, and then it's something we can kind of go off of. And it doesn't even have to be like, we wouldn't technically have to destroy our stuff. We
Mhm.
could look at like every year and I'd want to talk to the devs on this and probably do it, but like things could move to cold storage. So like you have things like maybe if you want to keep things for longer, but you don't want them bogging down the system, but want it just in case
Mhm.
somebody comes and audits you, it could be in cold storage and be there, but it's out of the system, not slowing it down, not taking up space to like hold the data on like live servers that we're using actively. So there's a couple different ways you could do that if folks are like, oh no, we can't get rid of it after 5 years. Like we won't use it, but we need it just in case. Maybe
Mhm.
that's where cold storage can come into play.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Any other questions? Because I'm going to switch to MSG when we're done with questions here. All right, so the next part is MSG UI, just user interface. There's not business logic layered on top of this yet, at least not a lot. So it's on our testing page. So as you go into the testing page, we have a lot of different one-off tools that are going to be embedded throughout the system. We're going to go down to the measurable skill gains section. So we have just like a little overview of text about MSGs, and then I have a note here. We're going to update this. So when I'm coming in and I've come in as an in-school youth, in addition to anything else, we're going to have different text for in-school youth because their MSGs don't trigger based on service. They are just, you are required to have MSG all of the time for in-school youth, regardless of any service they're enrolled in. So there's just a note that this text will change when we're able to trigger that. Right now, we don't have an application, so I can't have a dynamic text. And this is more of a technical note. When we're adding MSGs, we obviously have to associate them with a customer. And because this is on the test page, it's not tied directly to a customer. So we're just associating everything with one test customer. So that you won't see this when we go live. So then we have our filters. So this is our MSG display table, and you can filter it by type or by program year. We're going to come back and play with this a little bit more when we have some more data in here. And then here is my MSG table that displays all the MSGs that have been earned for this customer Olivia test. And then I can add MSGs as needed. So when I click add MSGs, I'm going to select which MSG I am adding. It has a little header with an info bubble that says to add, and then complete the required steps. So my first one is educational functional level, and it lets me know that there are 3 ways to earn this. The first one is a test score. The second one is either entry into post-secondary education or pass a subtest or high school equivalency. If they earn the first one, the test scores, it's just simply saying that this is something that is calculated by the system based on assessment results. And then if they click this button, it's going to direct them to the assessment page, which is coming soon, where they can add their assessment results in, or make sure they're added in, and the system will auto calculate it, and it would auto show in the table back here, without them having to add it through this modal. It just automatically does it if they have a post-assessment result that is a whole grade level higher than their pre-assessment. So the other two that they go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so you say that it's three ways to obtain it, but it doesn't, this is confusing the way it's laid out, because it's like, okay, well, what is test scores 1, and then the other 2 down here are 2 and 3?
Yeah, this numbering needs to go away.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, one way is automatically calculated in the system. The other 2 ways are manually entered. Yeah, I agree. Test scores. So the issue we're getting into here, we had to change it, is actually, let me refresh this so it's not radio button selected. Is I need them to select a radio button so I can show them the right questions. If I show them both at the same time, I have validation issues when I go to save. So I
Really
think,
take the numbering off of there, so.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think removing that number and then having them just select would help.
Or
The-
just
you
separate
say-
this text a little bit, like maybe reformat how this is set up. Like, so if the first one is, one way is that you're auto calculating it, and then maybe,
Select how select how you're going to manually enter
Yeah.
how participant achieved an educational functional level. Okay.
Mhm.
So this would be the manual add. I think if that,
Yep.
you realize the test scores is you know what I mean?
Yeah, so separate like that those two sentences.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like something like more
You
like
do.
that.
No, like up on top where you've got like there's 3 ways, and the one way you're talking about auto calculation.
So take the other two ways.
Other 2 ways that needs like hit enter
And put
Mhm.
that.
and put that
above
down.
Select how you will manually.
Gotcha. Let's see. Let me jump up to, I just would like to, I'm going to screenshot this for our devs because what I'm doing won't actually stick to anything, but make sure we're like on the same page. Hit that.
Yeah,
It did look, okay.
it's better.
Well, take out the middle sentence then,
What middle
or
sentence?
take out, because the middle sentence and the second and the last sentence kind of say the same thing. So choose how you want to say it.
Okay, yeah. The other two ways are manually entered by completing the required fields. Please select the MSG you are manually entering into the system. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Please select, then select. Yeah, I just copied and pasted there. So like, kind of like that, but without that period there, probably there.
Yes, that makes more
Yeah.
sense to me. Much more sense.
Mhm.
You gotta dumbify it for me, okay? Sorry.
No, this is perfect.
Unless like text, like if it's a big paragraph, people aren't gonna, they're gonna get caught up
Exactly.
on it.
Mm-hmm. So then if they are adding it one of these ways, entering into post-secondary education information, they would pick that radio button and it's going to open up the applicable questions to this one. So it asks the questions that we discussed with the SME team, but review these as part of your UAT and make sure they make sense. We have some logic in here. So if I pick yes, all good. But if I say no to one of these, it's gonna say like the customer doesn't meet the requirements. Please refer to the MSG policy and link to that MSG policy.
Okay.
What we're trying to do here is I don't want you to have to complete all these required fields and upload a document only to be like, these essentially are like checks. In order to do this, you have to do this and this. And if you didn't, you don't meet the requirements for this kind of MSG.
No, I definitely like this. I think it'll help to fill out immensely.
And then you upload a file. So pick your file, date attained. We will have business logic in here. That if they're trying to upload a file for a date that falls outside of the window they triggered participation in the MSG, they'll get a message. But again, we're waiting on some dependencies to be removed before we can do that. They can add any comments. It's optional, so they don't have to. And just verify that the customer has met the requirements for this type of MSG. This is something that I believe is done in IWDS that they wanted to maintain here. And then we can save that record. It lets us know it's saving. And then I should get a green verification message. And then it is added to the table.
Awesome.
We have some different features in here. So if like I start doing something and I try to close out of it. Oh, never mind. That didn't work. Hold on. Yes. Let me try an older one. I'm going to note that because it should be giving me a message. Are you sure you want to leave?
Okay.
I'll note that as a hot fix that needs to get pushed to UAT ASAP. But what should be happening is I should get a message that says, are you sure you want to leave? Like you've entered data and it won't be saved. Yeah, it's not triggering for some reason. It's unfortunate.
And most of the, I mean, Mark and Paula were instrumental in coming up with this, correct?
Correct. Yes, I worked with both of them pretty extensively to come up with the wording of the questions. They're the ones who helped come up with this. We looked at the T goals and everything. This one, attain secondary diploma or recognized equivalent. This one we're still working on. There are questions that they need to get answered before we know how to do this one correctly, because we keep going back and forth on a specific item. So it just has a to-do link here, and I just want to note that we do not expect you to test this one because there's obviously nothing to test, but all the other ones are ready to go. EFL is the most complex one. All the other ones are one single one, so a lot easier to kind of digest. We give information about what is this MSG. We ask the questions to see if you trigger. Logic are built into these questions. If you hit something that wouldn't trigger, you get the red message. If you hit something that would, you can keep moving forward. We give examples of documentation we want to upload. And I think Paula is eventually wanting to expand on this a little bit more with a link to acceptable documentation. But yeah, so we have it for all of these here, and we have updated it a little bit from what is in IWDS. So we have the
Separated secondary and post-secondary, right?
separated secondary and
Okay.
post-secondary, expanded this one. I think that these two names might be different.
Yeah, because we used to call them milestones, but it's really progress report. Yeah.
And we also called out this one, attain secondary school diploma or recognized equivalent. That one seems like one I thought we had done. Or no, passed up. Sorry, I'm trying to think here. I thought has participant. I thought we had this one squared away. Attain secondary school diploma or recognized equivalent. Yes, so this one I think we're going to have them just go to the credential section and add it as a credential. It won't necessarily need to be any kind of question asked. It's one we're looking at auto mapping similar to the EFL.
Makes sense.
You do like a hyperlink or quick link then when you get to that to the outcome.
Yep, similar to this, we'll have like a view add credential that'll jump them right to that page.
Okay. Yeah, like there where it says on the customer's outcome page, it would take them to the credential section and outcome page.
Yep. I thought there was one one of them we are working on defining this one. We are working on defining, this is credit hours, and we're working on defining clock hours. That's the one. So this will be expanded to include that. We just have, I know Mark's still working on trying to figure that out. And get all the right eyes on it. And I thought there was a fourth EFL, and that might be the one we're still working on. Sorry, I should have. We just updated this one right before UAT. This is the last thing we updated. And I thought there was entry into post-secondary, pass subtest, Let me just look super quick. Do you guys have any questions though while I'm pulling that up? Okay. Files.
Yeah, there's 4 subtypes for EFL.
Yeah, I think one of them is another one we're trying to auto-populate, and I'm pretty sure it's the one where in this entry into post-secondary education can get kind of tricky.
Mhm.
So what, I thought it was that one, but so what is that leave me?
Let's see who the 4 types are. The pre and post test, so that's the one that's automatically added.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is secondary school diploma recognized equivalent measure and report educational gains through awarding of credits or Carnegie units.
Oh,
Education.
I think one of them, I'm almost there. I think one of them we have a waiver not to do or we don't do. Are you looking at the same
No,
Teagle?
I was looking at the policy that they are having me update.
Mm, maybe that's where I should look then.
Because currently we just have 3 listed in the policy.
Yeah, we were adding a fourth though. 'Cause
Fourth
they
one
updated something.
in 1016 that Teagle 1016 changed 3, they updated something, so we needed to add.
So where is my measurable skill gains? Employment rate, and credential attainment. Measurable skill gains. Okay. At least one education. States may complete the FL.
Mm,
Okay, so B was one that we skipped. Are they having you update that one though for policy? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
States that offer adult high school programs that lead to a secondary school diploma, recognized equivalent, may measure and report education gain through the award of credits or credit units. All right,
Mhm.
so that when we talked, this one was one that they weren't, Illinois was not on the hook for doing.
Mm.
They had a waiver or something. So I'll have to check with them if we're updating policy to do that. I believe this one D was a new one that was added.
Mhm.
So this isn't currently one that's being done in IWDS, but they're doing now in 2.0. And this one was one we went back and forth on, but we got that figured out. So that's this entry into post-secondary education.
Mhm.
Sorry. Um, but yeah, so I'll need to circle back with Mark and Paula then on 1B, the
Mhm.
okay. Yeah, so they should all be there except we're still working on just this attained secondary school diploma, hashing out if we're good to just auto calculate this based on an MSG, no, I'm sorry, a high school equivalency test or diploma being added within a specific time frame.
Mhm. So when did you said this is the next upcoming next cycle of UAT? So when do you anticipate this starting?
So
I missed that.
UAT starts today.
Today.
Yeah,
Okay.
this was this was UAT. This was your overview.
Okay.
And we were going to do just MSGs today and do the customer stuff next week. That is what I'm doing with the locals. So tomorrow when I meet with the locals, they're going to get the whole MSG spiel and then they're going to get the whole um, customer search and application and duplicate customer search on the 20th.
Mhm.
Because of our attendance today, we did both to this week, and I'm going to do both again on the 19th. If
Gotcha.
I have my missing folks, if it's just the same folks again, I won't make you sit through it again.
Yeah.
I'm also going to send it out in a recording.
Yeah.
So you guys have until the 27th to get me your feedback, but the sooner I can get it, the better. So if you guys can try to get it in the next week, or at least start on one of them this week and one of them next week, that would be fantastic. This is just my portion. Al and Taylor both have a couple of things that are going to be going into UAT. So we're going to be doing this every Wednesday for several weeks now, on top of all the other stuff we have you guys doing. So do you guys have any questions? I'm gonna stop the recording here and we can go to our next thing. But do you have any UAT specific questions?
No, I don't.
I don't think so.
All right.